Hello students, let us learn the 8th chapter of your English textbook today. Fire, friend and foe. What is friend and foe? Foe means enemy. So here, a friend and foe, a person or a thing that is both a friend and an enemy. We all know that fire is both dangerous and useful. In this chapter, we will learn what fire really is and how it can be both dangerous and useful to us. We will also understand how to control fire. Let us move on to the chapter. Fire, friend and foe. Early man didn't know what fire was, but he must have seen the damage it could cause. He must have watched lightning and volcanoes long before he began to use fire himself. Fire was powerful and dangerous, and he was frightened. Today we are very familiar with fire, but there was a time when human beings did not know what fire was, and they did not know the use of fire. They only knew that it was dangerous. If they play with that would be causing harm to them. That's what they knew about fire. The writer here talks about that time when early man had not discovered fire and had seen the damage caused by fire through lightning and volcanic eruptions. Since he didn't know what was causing such severe damage, he was afraid of fire, which was powerful and dangerous. Fire may have puzzled the early man, but we now know that fire is the result of a chemical reaction. When the oxygen in the air combines with carbon and hydrogen in a fuel, a chemical reaction takes place. Energy in the form of heat and light is released in this process. This is what we call fire. Fire definitely had puzzled or confused the early man, but nowadays we humans know what fire is. We know that fire is the result of a chemical reaction. In this chemical reaction, oxygen in the air is combined with carbon and hydrogen in a fuel, like wood, coal, cooking gas, petrol, and many such things. And energy is released in the form of heat and light, which is what we call fire. Three things are needed to make fire: fuel, oxygen, and heat. Wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol are some examples of fuel. Oxygen comes from the air. This is why when you blow on smoldering paper, it often bursts into flame. The third thing needed to make fire is heat. Fuel and oxygen do not make fire by themselves, or else a newspaper or a stick lying in the open would catch fire on its own. To burn a piece of paper or wood, we heat it before it catches fire. We generally do it with a lighted match. Every fuel has a particular temperature at which it begins to burn. This temperature is called the flash point or kindling temperature of the fuel. Here we get to know about the things required to make fire. There are three things needed to make fire, and those three things are fuel, oxygen, and heat. Fuel is something which is required to catch fire, like firewood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. Then comes oxygen, the second thing, which is found in the air. We can prove that oxygen is needed to make fire by blowing onto a smoldering paper. When we blow, oxygen blows into the smoldering paper, which makes it burst into flames. The third and the final requirement to make fire is heat. Fuel and oxygen cannot make a fire by themselves. If that would have been possible, then any newspaper or stick lying in the open would have caught fire. To burn a substance, we have to heat it. We usually do this step with a lighted match. Then we have to wait for the thing to reach its flash point or kindling temperature, which is the temperature at which a fuel starts burning. Every fuel has its own flash point. For example, paper and wood will have different kindling temperature or flash point, meaning that paper will catch fire sooner than wood. It is sometimes said that fire is a good servant but a bad master. It only means that fire is very useful as long as it is kept under control. For instance, we use it to cook our food, warm our homes in winter, and to generate electricity. But on the other hand, if fire gets out of control, it can be very dangerous. Each year, thousands of homes and shops are damaged by fire. Vast areas of forest are also destroyed and hundreds of people are killed or injured. Here is a very apt or very correct saying about fire. What is that? Fire is a good servant but a bad master. The writer tells us the meaning of this popular saying. Fire is a good servant but a bad master. It has only one meaning, that fire is useful only when it is under our control. When it goes out of control, it causes a lot of irreparable damage. For example, fire is useful for cooking our food, keeping our homes warm in winter, and for generating electricity, because during that time it is under our control. But when it goes out of control, it can burn down our houses and injure us. Then the writer tells us that each year thousands of homes and shops are damaged by fire, and vast areas of forests are also destroyed by forest fires. During this time, hundreds of people are killed or injured. From this, it is clear that when fire goes out of our control, it becomes very dangerous and deadly. It can cause irreparable damage to human life and our property. Just as three things needed to start a fire, there are three main ways in which a fire can be put out. In each, one of the three things needed for burning is taken away. For example, we can take away the fuel. If the fire has no fuel to feed on, no burning can take place. We often let a fire die out simply by not adding more fuel to it. Here, in this part of the chapter, the writer tells us the ways in which we can put out or extinguish a fire. Just as three things are needed to start a fire, we have three ways in which we can successfully put out or extinguish fire. In each way, one of the requirements of burning is taken away. The first way is to take away the fuel. If the fire would not have something to feed on, the fire would ultimately get extinguished or put out. We often let a fire die out by not adding fuel to it. If you take away the fuel, there is no fire, because fire needs a fuel to burn. The second way of putting out a fire is to prevent oxygen from reaching it. No supply of oxygen means no fire. Small fires can be put out or smothered with a damp blanket or a sack. This stops oxygen reaching the burning material. Sometimes carbon dioxide is used to extinguish fire. It does not allow oxygen to reach the burning material. The first way of extinguishing fire is to remove fuel from that. The second way of extinguishing a fire is to cut the supply of oxygen from reaching the burning substance. A fire cannot burn without oxygen. No supply of oxygen means no fire. Small fires can be put out with a damp or wet blanket or a sack. The writer uses a word smothered. It means suffocate. A damp blanket or a sack can cut off the supply of oxygen in the same way as a damp blanket or a sack can cut off the supply of oxygen to humans and can suffocate them. The same way how humans are suffocated, the same way fire will be suffocated. When it doesn't get oxygen, it doesn't burn. Then, instead of taking away oxygen, we can supply carbon dioxide, which will extinguish the fire. Carbon dioxide will form a blanket around the fire, which will prevent oxygen from reaching the burning fuel, and it will cause to extinguish the fire. The third way of putting out a fire is to remove the heat. If the temperature can be brought down below the flash point, the fuel stops burning. You blow a burning matchstick or a candle to put it out. In doing so, you remove the hot air around the flame, bringing down its temperature below the flash point, and the candle goes out. Sometimes water is sprayed on a fire. It absorbs heat from the burning fuel and lowers the temperature. The blanket of water also cuts off the supply of oxygen, and the fire is extinguished. The third and the final way of putting out or extinguishing a fire is to remove the heat. If we can lower the temperature to such an extent that it comes below the flash point, the fuel will gradually stop burning. For example, we blow on a burning matchstick or a candle to remove the hot air around the flame, so that the temperature comes below the flash point and the candle or the matchstick gets extinguished. Another way of removing heat is to spray water on the fire. The water absorbs heat from the burning fuel and lowers the temperature. The water, just like carbon dioxide, forms a blanket around the fire, and cuts off the supply of oxygen, and that extinguishes the fire. Some fires cannot be put out with water. If water is sprayed onto an oil fire, the oil will float to the top of the water and continue to burn. This can be very dangerous because water can flow quickly, carrying the burning oil with it and spreading the fire. Water should also not be used on fires caused by electrical appliances. The person spraying water might receive an electric shock and be killed. A carbon dioxide extinguisher is the best thing to fight an electrical fire. Just now we have seen that one of the ways in which we can extinguish fire is to spray water on fire. But there are some occasions when we are unable to use water to extinguish fire. There are some fires which cannot be put out with water. There are two such types of fires that cannot be put out with water. They are oil and electrical fires. If we spray water onto an oil fire, the oil will float on the water, which will not prevent it from burning, but it will carry the burning oil and spread the fire more, because water flows faster than oil. In the same way, if we spray water on an electrical fire, the person who is spraying the water will receive an electric shock, which can kill that person. For these two types of fire, we should use a carbon dioxide extinguisher. It is harmless to use carbon dioxide fire extinguisher in oil fires and electrical fires. We spend millions of rupees each year in fighting fires, and we spend more trying to find new ways of preventing fires from happening and getting out of control. On the whole, we have learned rather well to control fire and put it to good use in our everyday life. Here, the writer tells us that we humans spend millions of rupees each year just for one purpose. What is that purpose? To fight fires. Not only that, we spend a lot more to find new ways of preventing fires from happening and getting it out of control. So the writer says we spend a huge amount of money to find new scientific ways of controlling fire. All this has led to rise of numerous ways by which we can control fire and put it to good use in our everyday life. Long ago, there were no firemen. When fire broke out, everybody became a firefighter. People formed human chains, they still do it if required, and passed buckets of water from a well or a pond to the blaze. Now there are laws about building construction which ensures that space is left between buildings to reduce the fire risk. During the olden times, when there was a fire, there were no firemen to extinguish fire. When fire broke out, people didn't call for firemen. Instead, they would themselves become firefighters and would help the people who are in trouble. People formed human chains to put out fire, and this method is still in use when there is a need of assistance of the people to extinguish fire. How did the human chain work? The human chain would start from the burning building to a well or a pond where they could collect water. With buckets, the water would get transported from one person to the another onto the fire. However, things are now different than before. People started taking precautions. Now, there are special rules made just to prevent fires from happening and spreading. First rule is that there should be space left between buildings to reduce the spread of fire from one building to the other. Every new building, especially a public place, must ensure observance of fire prevention norms. Bands of firefighting workers with special equipments known as fire brigades are there to put out fires. Firefighters are highly trained people. They possess many skills. They cut off electricity supply, knock down dangerous walls, spray water and other materials to bring fire under control. They are also trained in first aid so that they can help people suffering from burns or from the effects of smoke. Next, or the second rule, is that every new building, especially a public place, must ensure observance of fire prevention norms or rules. The last and the third rule is that if there is a fire, then fire brigades, which are bands of firefighting workers with special equipments, will be there to put out fire. Who are these fire brigades? Fire brigades are firefighters who are highly trained and skilled people to extinguish fire. They do many things like disconnecting electricity supply, knock down dangerous walls which may be about to fall, spray water to the fire to bring it under control, and give first aid to the people who are suffering from burns or from the effects of smoke. The discovery of fire and its uses helped early man to cope with nature better and gradually adopt a settled mode of life. Fire is still worshipped in many parts of the world. Fire is indeed a friend, but as we know, it can be a dangerous enemy once it gets out of control. It is clear that the discovery of fire and its various uses had helped early man to deal with nature better. Moreover, it was due to fire that human beings were able to adopt a settled life. Human beings were leading a nomadic life like other animals, but he started to lead a settled life when he started to control fire. Fire is still worshipped in many parts of the world because people are grateful for its help, and also people are fearful of the damage that fire can cause. So we should realize that fire is our friend, but it turns into a dangerous enemy if it gets out of control. That's all the chapter. Now read the chapter in your textbook and watch the video guide, then answer all the questions under the headings, comprehension check and working with the text. Then send those to my WhatsApp number before 5 o'clock today. Thank you for watching.